Hello, this is Raziel Cohen with ndftraining.com, and today we're going to talk about things you can do and things you must do when you pick up a brand new firearm. So if you just picked up your first firearm or if you just bought a new one, there are some things that are known that you must do and things that are recommended or that could enhance the performance of your firearm. Generally speaking, when I first get one, I don't do anything to it for quite a while until I run it and feel like there's going to be something different I might want to do with it. So although let's say on my Glock 19, certain modifications I like and work very well for me, it doesn't mean it's going to work on another gun, even if it's of the same brand. So you really want to be able to take that into account. As an example, this Glock 48 is almost exactly the same as a Glock 19, just slightly thinner. So generally speaking, it's almost the exact same gun. However, being that it's thinner, I might want to choose to use a different grip because I might have a different feel on this gun than what I do with that gun, with the 19. So just because you have a new firearm and just because it's of the same brand doesn't mean that you're going to do a lot more modification to it. Now, after using this for a little bit, I have a better understanding of what I will do to this gun, but I'm still going to run it stock for a little bit until I'm able to get a much better feel for it and really decide if those are going to be decisions I want to make for modification. So let's head over to the tabletop. I'll cover certain things that I think are a must when it comes to purchasing a new firearm, as well as different modifications you could do when you get a new firearm. So here we are at the tabletop, and we're going to start going through some of the things that I think are required. The first thing is going to be about cleaning the firearm. So a lot of people, and I know a lot of people who've come to classes who they've purchased a new gun and immediately take it to the range. Although your gun will definitely survive modern technology and the quality of these guns are perfectly amazing. However, you really do want to clean it because you want to be able to make sure it lasts and doesn't do any long-term damage to your firearm. So even Glocks need to be cleaned, where you're just going to make sure to take it down, make sure you do it properly and safely. And then just remove all the parts. It's really that simple. You just need to at least clean these parts. Now, if you could tell, I already took this and cleaned it, as well as also took this through one of our active shooter classes, and I had one of my students run this gun. So it's already starting to put up a round count because I want to be able to at least have a proper break-in period for when I'm going to use this gun. So again, the main thing is going to be about feeling and establishing what things you really feel are necessary before you start modifying. So the only thing I knew, regardless of the gun that I would have, is a necessity for my firearm is some kind of grip tape or some kind of additional grip, because especially during our active shooter classes, it's very quickly noticeable where if you don't have any type of texturing or grip on the gun itself, then it starts to slip with all the fake blood that we end up putting on your hand. So definitely having some grip. So right now, as a temporary thing, I have goon tape. This is just something like a gun grip tape. I made a video on that just wraps around your gun, and it makes it a little bit better than obviously the standard texturing that comes on a Glock. So for me, this works out very well. However, this is not going to be what I'm staying with. This is definitely a temporary fix. So this is Talon grips. You can see that this is my primary gun right now. This is my Glock 19, and I had Talon grips on this. So after I posted the video about why I use these grips, the company Talon Grips actually reached out to me, and they saw that it's really, really worn, and I definitely use it a lot. So they said it might be time for a replacement. So not only did they send me the Glock 48 grips, they also send me the grips for the Glock 19 to be able to replace it and be able to use it and continue to use it. I really do love these grips. So I know that that's going to be something I'm going to add. The reason why they're not on this gun yet is because you could tell on this one as well, I have a Magwell on the bottom of this gun, and it helps with reloading, but primarily for me, the Glock 19 is still a little bit short for my fingers. I'm generally fitting into Glock 17 much more. You can see how my finger almost still hangs off, but having a Magwell kind of gives you a little bit extra of a shelf space to be able to hold the gun. So I want to do the same thing for this gun, since it's going to be a gun that I'm going to start carrying, but you want to be able to put the Talon grips on after you install the magazine well, because otherwise it's going to get torn on the bottom. So you can see right now this fits right over that, and that's where the connection point is happening. And that's something, again, I'm going to make sure to do on this one as well before I actually put that on. So right now, as a temporary thing, I have the goon tape. Once I get the Magwell in and it works the way that I like it to, I'm going to replace it, take this off, put the Magwell on first, and then put on the Talon grips. So that's going to be what's going to happen in regards to grips. So I'm going to keep this here just because I want to show you in reference what things I liked adding to this one and what things I'm going to add on this one based on my experience with this one. However, now running this a little bit more, I'm getting a feel for what I will add versus won't in regards to both of these. So yeah, the first thing is going to be the Talon grips as a replacement, and right now the temporary goon tape. Next up for that is going to be some form of optic. I know I do want to use an optic of some kind. Now, if you could tell, these are kind of like the stock Glock sights that come on guns, and I think they're the first thing that needs to be replaced. And you might notice that my sight is backwards. So right now that's the front sight, that's the rear sight. Usually this would be flipped so you could actually see that properly. So what I'm doing is, again, just as a temporary thing, I generally will have a blacked out rear sight because I want to be able to align them properly and only focus on the front sight, because otherwise it would distract me. So all I did as a temporary thing for now is I just took out the sight, flipped it around, and then I'm just going to be able to use that as a front sight to be able to have a more focused spot. Ultimately though, I'm going to be installing these. These are our Mariglow sights. They are blacked out on both, and they're also suppressor height. The reason why is because I'm going to ultimately be using a optic on this, so I'd want to be able to have backup sights. However, my main focus is going to be on the red dot regardless. So having a backup sight that's going to be blacked out both in the front and the rear are perfectly good for me. But again, just as a temporary thing, I'm going to have the front sight over here straight, and then the rear sight turned around, just so I have that as if it's a mocked up blackout sight. So that's going to definitely be, in regards to iron sights, what I'm going to replace it with. And then going along from that, I'm going to put on an optic. But before you put on an optic, this might be something worth noting. This is from C&H Precision. They make these plates right over here that you install onto the MOS platform. So this is the MOS, which means I can remove this area over here and be able to mount an optic. However, the plates that are available for Glocks are not really great. They are not very high quality. So C&H Precision does carry these, and I think these are like really the ultimate choice when it comes to being able to add an optic. So I'm going to be using this as the barrier between the optic and the gun. And then for the optic, as of right now, this is the Holosun HS407K. More likely than not, this is not going to be the optic I'm going to stay with, because I right now know that Holosun is coming out with something called the EPS carry, which is going to be similar to the 509T, which I'm going to link a video on that as well. The 509T is a great optic because it's closed off on both ends. It doesn't have an open emitter like this one does. So as of right now, this might be something I'm going to stick with, but more likely than not, I'm going to wait for the EPS carry to come out before being able to use that as my primary optic. So just for right now, that's what I have. So this in combination with this plate, I think is going to make a big difference in regards to performance and making sure that it's going to be reliable. Other than that, the other thing that's very important as well is some form of illumination. That's a part of the reason why I really like the Glock 48. This is the Streamlight TLR7 sub. It is a very great optic, a flashlight, coming in at 500 lumens. I'm sure technology and flashlights are going to evolve a lot more, where you're able to get more lumens out of such a small light setup. But for me, temporarily, this definitely works perfectly fine. So that's going to be something I'm going to add as well. And again, you can see here I have the TLR1HL, which makes a very big difference in regards to illumination and power, and something that I think works very nicely. The other thing that I would like to do at some point, it might not be something I'm going to do as of right now, but the trigger on Glocks are generally not great. Based on what I'm told, a lot of people say that over time they break in, but even from my personal experience, what happens is that the inner safety mechanism of the Glock, that little piece right over there, really is sharp and digs into your fingers. So if you're going to a class that has a very high round count when you're firing, it really starts to hurt a lot. Something like this, which is the Apex trigger, might be something I'm going to install. However, I am curious to try out other triggers that might be available on the market. This has a pretty nice feel, but for me, I feel like there was a little bit more squish than I want. So right before it actually breaks, there's a little bit of a squish there, which is not perfect for me. So I know there's probably better options in regards to what's available. But for now, that's what I'm running stock just for now. And ultimately, hopefully I'm going to be able to switch over to that. The last thing that's going to be important is a holster setup of some kind. So the new holster setup that I wanted to try out, T-Rex Arms sidecar holster. This is one of their newer versions where you could pretty much remove this center bar and kind of configure it in different fashions depending on what you want. What I've seen that works for myself pretty well so far is that I have the holster at kind of around the 1 o'clock, 1:30 position. And then the magazine I have separately on kind of like the left side of my body at around 11 o'clock position. So it's kind of like a space where like your center of your appendix would be in the middle, and then the gun, and then the magazine. Now again, you could just remove this bar in the middle and then attach this just like that. So it comes as a one kind of conventional setup for a appendix carry rig. But it's going to be something I'm going to run a little bit more and test a little bit more. I definitely feel that it's very necessary to have a spare magazine when you're carrying a firearm. And then, yeah, already this holster comes fit with the flashlight. I'm able to put the flashlight right in there just like that. And again, before I do any major modifications, I knew a light would for sure be something I'm going to add. The question is going to be about the optic, the grip setup, the magazine well, and also the sights. So this is kind of where I'm running right now. If you guys have any input in regards to things I could change or add up, I know that the Glock 48 is still relatively new in regards to available accessories. Even the Glock 43X and guns like that still don't have a huge amount available, but I am curious to get more input. a massive life hack of something that you should be aware of is that these sights, the standard iron sights that fit on the Glock 48, you're actually able to use standard Glock 19 sights. So anything that would fit on a Glock 19 or Glock 17 would also be able to fit on this. I think that's a very cool thing to be able to know, because these sights right over here, the Amerigo sights that I'm going to put on, are officially, it says fits for all Glock models. So that does include the Glock 48 and the Glock 43X, and it does not protrude off the side. I already tried them on, I put them on, and that was the case. So if you're looking for sights in general and are worried about what might be available, standard Glock 19, Glock 17 sights would be able to work on this as well, which I think is very convenient, because there's not kind of like a whole new era of different sights and the different costs. You could just find what's already available for the Glock 19 and 17, which are like the most prolific gun around the United States, and it makes it much easier. So again, if you have input, if you have any feedback on what I'm able to do, maybe different things you'd recommend or things I should try out, I'd be very curious to get your input, as well as also maybe a trigger option. If you know of a Glock 48 trigger that would be like solid and something that I think would work well. I know there's a huge variety of options out there, and I'm sure it's a very debated topic of what might work best. I'm still curious to get your opinion on it, so feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. This is Raziel Cohen with ndftraining.com. Thank you for watching.